A few years ago, I was talking with a friend right about the time in my business, 2008, when the industry had basically collapsed below my feet and my business was starting to disintegrate. And she asked me, "What are you so afraid of?" Well, I have operated my businesses without fear for years, and my auto response is I operate out of fear. I don't have fear. And as I was starting to give her this auto response of I have no fear, all of a sudden I was flooded and surrounded and encased by all of these fears that had somehow creeped into my existence. I had no clue they were there until she asked me that question. I know what happens when you create through the lens of fear. You will draw to you your greatest fears. We've all seen on True Hollywood Stories, and they will say this in every single episode of True Hollywood Story. They will say this sentence, and her or his greatest fear came true. What you focus on is what you get. So here I was running my business in fear. And guess what? All of those fears were coming true. I was so mad at myself for allowing this to happen. And that night I went on a walk and I started asking, okay, what am I afraid of? Come to me. Let me know. Boom. A fear would pop into my head and I'd be like, okay, fear, thank you. I thank you for all that you have come to teach me. So I think that through our fears we learn. And I now release you. I no longer need you. And poof, I would see it explode in front of me, dissipate. Okay, fears, give me my next one. Next fear would come up. I'd do the same process. I would thank it for what it was there to teach me. I no longer need you. Poof, you're gone. I did this for about an hour. And at the end of that hour, I felt such relief. I felt such lightness. I don't think I got rid of all of my fears. I still had to work on some of them. But we don't always know what our fears are. We don't always understand what is ruling us. But you will be ruled by your fears. So you have to face them. I believe we're afraid to face our fears. It will bring up this old, scary energy. And don't try this process when you're in a weak state. But when you're ready to face them, it's like, okay, come and hit me with what I need to let go of. And start releasing your fears. Call them forth. Face them. It's just like darkness. As soon as it is brought, or light is brought into this darkness, darkness dissipates. And that's really what I found is bringing your fears to the surface. Most of them just dissipate. You see them for what they are and you can let them go. Now here's something interesting. The only way, and this I know, the only way your fears will come true is if you are still holding on to them, and if you continue to feed them. Your fears will come true if you feed them, if you are holding on to them. So all of those things that you say, oh, that's my greatest fear, be careful. You figure out a way to face that fear and get it out of your existence, especially if it could bring harm to you or your family. You have to face your fears and let them go. Call them forth, face them, thank them, and let them go. It sounds easy, and it sounds too easy, but it is and does work. It may not work on every single one of your fears, but you could probably wipe out over half of your fears through this process instantly, just by bringing it to the light. And even just bringing it to the light, at least you know what you're dealing with. If you're faced with a fear that you've called forth and it pops into your head and you're like, wow, I didn't realize I was afraid of that, at least you know what you're dealing with. So face your fears, call them forth, thank them for what they've taught you, and let it go, let it go, let it go. I'm Jimmy Belasco, and you have been driving with Jimmy.